Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon. Welcome to the Mustcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and then click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we'll start with media we're consuming. This time, I'll let you go. First, Aiara. Oh yeah, by the way, Aiara's back.
Howdy.
Amir's still having some technical difficulties. He should be back next episode, but we got Aiara back again. Have another great discussion. But yeah, you can go first.
Media I've been consuming. Oh boy. Well, Bel Air ended, so I've stopped watching that because it ended. So sad. Uh, can't wait for it to come back. I've been I've started the Dorohedoro manga. Not too far in it. Still chewing through Shadow's House because it's updating all the time, forever. Uh, I restarted Jujutsu Kaisen because I had started reading the manga and then stopped for some reason. So now I'm rereading it because I forgot where I was. I'm rereading Mob Psycho 100 because I missed it a lot, and season 3 is coming, and I'm excited about that. And mostly, I've just been reading a lot of manga. I haven't really been watching much because there hasn't been much to watch. Although I have been gearing up for my yearly Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood rewatch, so that's gonna be fun. I do that every year.
That's great.
That, that
God, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is near anime perfection.
it
Like,
is.
I'll never get over how good that anime is, and there is no wasted character. Every character matters to the story in some form or fashion, and they come back and do something. It's
Right. And I can't wait. I also am gearing up for my yearly rewatch of Sword Art Online. I know it sucks, but I grew up
first season or two isn't bad. It's good. I enjoyed it, but yeah,
yeah.
it starts to get bad though. It's some
Once you get into like Gun Gale and stuff, it's just like ugh. Which I didn't even watch like Gun Gale and Sword Art Online too. I don't care. For me, Sword Art Online is Sword Art Online and then Alfheim Online and then it ends. Then it's over because everything that comes after that is stupid. But that's what I've been watching and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, Dora was great. I After that, it's been so long since the first season came out. When is that second season coming? Mappa is mad busy, so I hope it turns out good. Just as good as the first season, no difficulties happen because they're ridiculous.
Right.
But yeah, I jumped straight into the manga and read through all of it. It is so good. I think it had ended in like 2017, the manga. Yeah, I've been watching Atlanta, um, season 3. Another show that's took forever to have another season, but Atlanta is great. It is really good. It's one of those shows, each episode is around 30 minutes, but they feel longer than 30 minutes. So yeah, Atlanta is great. It can be strange sometimes. It's a lot of social commentary. And this season, they they're going back and forth between one episode is about the main storyline with the main characters, and then another one that's kind of like just a one-off episode that's a kind of like Black Mirror-ish. That's just about something random and touching on a specific like social issue. It's just and Atlanta's a great show. I've been watching Superman and Lois. I put it here to remind myself to watch it, but there haven't been any new episodes. I think they're in their like mid-season break or whatever. But Superman Lois is it's a good show. If you're interested in Superman and Lois Lane, it's a good place to start to get to know them. They have 2 kids in that show too. It's a good show. Um, uh, I'm watching season 2 Gravity Falls. I've been rewatching that. I've been watching it like I mentioned last week with Blind Wave. I watch like 80% of the stuff I watch on YouTube is that reaction YouTube channel. And every Saturday they post their reaction and I watch it along with them. So it feels like I'm watching cartoons on Saturday morning every time I wake up and go to watch Gravity Falls with them. It's great. I've started watching Spy Family and it's good. It's really good. I always saw the manga chapters in the Shonen Jump app, but it didn't look like something that would interest me. But then people were saying anime was good. I was like, I'll check out the anime, and it's been good. It's a slice of life where a spy has to create a fake family for a mission, but naturally he's slowly falling in love with them. There's only 2 episodes so far, but you can already tell where the story's gonna go. And the daughter he adopts and the woman he chooses to play his wife are also very interesting characters that I don't want to spoil for anyone, because they have some interesting skills that you wouldn't expect off top about a show that's meant to be about spies. But I also watched the Adam Project on Netflix. It's a what is it? It's a movie starring Ryan Reynolds. It feels like a 80s kind of kid adventure film, like a sci-fi kid adventure film. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like if this was made in the 80s, it would be great. Like a lot of people would have a lot of nostalgia for it. But because it wasn't, it just feels bland. And it's okay, it's enjoyable, but it's not great. It's not necessarily something I watch again. Something I would watch again and will watch again once it's on streaming is Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is an acid trip of a movie full of martial arts, multiverses, and some emotional and touching moments. Stuff that always gets me in TV, film, and any type of entertainment media is like moments between a parent and their child always get me every time. That stuff. I learned that when the first game to ever make you cry was the Last of Us, the first part. You've I'm sure you've played it or seen like what happens in the prologue of that game, right?
I have, I think. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, that part of the prologue, it got me. That was the first time I ever cried. And the second time I ever cried playing a game was in the second game, and another moment between a father and a daughter. It was just those type of moments really get me. Sonic 2. Have you seen Sonic 2?
I haven't. I've like been making plans
So
with people all forever, and they always fall through because I'm always busy. But I am planning to go see it at some point because I want to. It looks really good.
yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, but it is easily, without a doubt, no competition, the greatest live action video game adaptation ever. I felt like a little kid watching this movie. I was gasping and laughing and cheering at everything that happened. Oh man, my little brothers were not as excited to watch this as I was. Um, Especially my youngest brother, who hasn't really consumed a lot of Sonic content. He wanted to see the movie because he's a little kid and interested in. He's 10 years old, but he doesn't know a lot about Sonic, and I don't even think he's ever played a Sonic game. And I was thinking of actually buying him Sonic Mania, which a lot of people consider to be the very best Sonic game. And I was gonna get him Sonic Mania so he could experience some Sonic. But yeah, it was so good. The inclusion of Tails and Knuckles, plus the fact that they travel across different biomes, much like the video games, makes it feel so much more like a Sonic movie. And Jim Carrey, his goofiness is dialed up to like 20. It's even higher. To the point to where he makes so many jokes and does so many goofy things that it's hit or miss. But I wouldn't have it any other way, in my personal opinion. I mean, naturally, I would prefer that every single one of them hit. But I kind of like the fact that he is just constantly goofy in this, doing whatever, just throwing whatever he can at the wall and just hoping it sticks. And when it's funny, it's funny. It's really funny. But yeah, they actually make the human characters work. I wasn't a fan of them having not. I wasn't a fan of them having. It wasn't that I didn't like them having human characters. It's that I didn't like that the human characters were adults. Because I grew up watching Sonic X. I was like, they should have made it like a kid. If anything, the exact same kid from Sonic X, whose name I can't remember. But they actually make the human characters work in this and make them in kind of matter to Sonic's story. And I thought that was cool. But they also didn't focus on them too much. There's one scene I feel like that goes on for too long and should have been like intercut with other scenes that involves the sister of the wife of the white guy. I don't remember their names, but yeah, it was cool. I liked it a lot. I mean, I'm hyped for the next movie. Once you see it, we can discuss that more because it was good. Moving on to animation. So Nimona is getting an animated film on Netflix. Have you ever read the graphic novel Nimona?
I've not, but it sounds really familiar.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Nimona is a fantasy graphic novel by N.D. Stevenson. And the story follows Nimona, a shapeshifter who joins the villain Ballister Blackheart and his plans to destroy the over-controlling Institute. And I read it a really long time ago when I was in middle school, and I remember bits and pieces, but not a lot. And it's getting it's being animated for Netflix. I think it was originally being animated by Blue Sky Studio that is now defunct. And yeah, now it's being taken over by another studio for Netflix. I'm excited to see it animated. I remember enjoying it. I just don't really remember much about it. But moving on to comics. So DC Pride number 2. The stories that will be featured in DC Pride number 2 have been revealed. I'm gonna just list them off and who the stories will be focusing on. So there's a Super Pride that's going to be about John Kent. John Kent, who's currently Superman, and he's Superman, the original Superman, Clark Kent's son. He not too long ago came out as, I think he's gay. Yeah, John Kent is gay. And then there's a Confessions featuring Nubia, also known as the Black Wonder Woman, and currently Queen of the Amazons, and she's also a gay woman. And then Tim Drake, the third Robin, who recently came out as in the comics as bisexual, has a comic called Special Delivery. And then a new character that I've been wanting to see so much more of, that I'm glad we're getting more of, is Jess Chambers, who is a non-binary Flash, but currently they're Kid Quick. And it was at a comics called Future State, where they were essentially kind of throwing out ideas to see what would stick, and like going into the future of the universe, and like, let's introduce some new characters, and people like them, we'll bring them back. And Jess Chamber was one of them as the Flash, but currently they are Kid Quick in the current timeline. And they have a story called Are You Ready for This? And I'm excited for that. They're also in a relationship with Aquaman's daughter, who is also a really cool character. If you don't even need to know anything about Aquaman, read Future State Aquaman. It's only 2 issues, and it's about Aquaman, but Calderon, or Jackson Hyde, as he's known in the comics, who's the Aqualad from Young Justice, the black Aqualad with the blonde hair, and his relationship with Andy Curry, who's Aquaman's daughter, and they have like this sibling relationship that's really fun and touching, and that comic was really good. The next one is actually about Jackson Hyde. A world kept, for me, Jackson Hyde is gay, and I'll talk more about Jackson Hyde later, but because he's getting a live action series. And then there's Gumshoe and the Green Lantern Joe Mullion. Who's a Black woman. It's a story about Connor Hawk and Damian Wayne. And Connor Hawk has recently, a couple of days ago on Twitter, I think actually yesterday, it revealed that he's gonna come out as asexual. It hasn't been confirmed, but he's a character that came about in like the late 90s. He's the son of Green Arrow, and he's Green Arrow's obviously white, but his mother's mixed. I believe Chinese and Black, and he's always given off the energy of an asexual person, and he's always kind of pushed back on people's advances and stuff like that. And like the hints have always been there, and now it's being confirmed. Another story called A Public Display of Electromagnetic Spectrum, an interesting title, will be featuring the Ray. I've seen the Ray a lot, but I don't know a lot about the Ray other than the fact that he's gay. That's literally all I know, and that his powers involve light. There's a Harley Quinn and Ivy and our Poison Ivy story called The Hunt. Definitely one of my favorite couples in with DC Comics. Watch Harley Quinn anime series and check out the tie-in comic. It's great. Batwoman, another one of my favorite heroes. I've been reading her comics lately, and they are so good. Just that first volume alone really made me fall in love with the character. And then there's one for a character named Alicia that I don't know a lot about, but apparently is like related to the Bat family in some form or way. And then there's another one about Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from Batman Animated Series, called Finding Batman. And I didn't know this, but he's gay. I never knew that. The legendary voice of Batman. And the reason it is because he actually came out in 2014. So it wasn't like a wildly known thing. And, he's been voicing Batman since 91 or 92. So like I had no idea, and a lot of people didn't know. Like I like on Twitter, a lot of people were like, "Wait, what? Kevin Conroy is gay? I didn't know this." But anyway, moving on. Chainsaw Man, right? Have you read any of the one shots from Tatsuki Fujimoto?
I have not the most recent one, but I did read the one with, well, I can't say because it's spoilers, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Don't Look Back. But Don't Look Back is amazing. It's really good, and it's I'm not going to spoil it, but it's based off of based off of a real event that happened. They change how it happens in some ways, but it's based off of a real life experience of Fujimoto and a friend that they had that was involved in that situation. And because that story is so tied to Fujimoto's actual life, I would imagine that Goodbye Area is the same. Without spoiling it, it's about a guy whose mom is dying from some disease, I can't remember what, and she asked him to record every moment with her that he could, so he could watch back on them later and remember her. And the entire story is told from behind the camera, for the most part, and it's treated like a documentary. And I would imagine it in a lot of ways might be related to something that Fujimoto has gone through personally. And it's just, I haven't read Chainsaw Man in a minute. And because I just ran through it, I don't have a very clear memory of it. So I think I'm about to start rereading Chainsaw Man, because seeing how good Fujimoto is as a writer, and then going like, man, I can't remember a lot of Chainsaw Man, but it's probably really good, and I just can't remember a lot of it. I remember liking it a lot, but there are a lot of little details and nuances that I just can't remember for the life of me. So I need to reread it and savor it.
Definitely, I would recommend, because I people have started coloring the scans, and it takes the experience from 1 to 3,000. So I would definitely recommend giving Chainsaw Man a reread. If I can find the colored scans, I will send them to you, because it's one thing reading it in black and white. I find that the story of Chainsaw Man was a little hard to follow, because there's just so much detail in the drawing and the paneling that you get lost in the lines a little bit. But reading the colored scans, it's whoa, it's a whole different story almost. It's crazy.
It's been a while since I read it, so I didn't feel that way when I was reading it, but I feel that way about One Piece, and it's why I fell behind. It's got to the point to where the author is very clearly, Ichiro Oda is trying to get to the end. Not that he's not enjoying it or he's not putting in his best effort, but Oda essentially he's packing a lot of information into every panel, into every page, to a detriment of my enjoyment, because it feels like too much, and I get overwhelmed, and it hurts my eyes to literally look at, because he's drawing everything and such with so many lines, and there's so many words in every panel and in every speech bubble. I'm just like, bruh, chill out. And when I catch up, I might just catch up by watching the anime. But another struggle with that is that the anime, the pacing, is super slow, because they're fully caught up and they haven't done filler in a long time. Like most anime don't even do filler anymore. Like filler just doesn't exist. They just be like, man, you're just gonna have to wait 2 years for this for this next season, because we're not giving you a filler arc in between, which I'm not mad at by any means. So it's just they're caught up and they wait for a couple chapters, and then they stretch out those chapters as far as they can, and it's annoying. And that's why I haven't caught up on One Piece. But I never felt that way with Chainsaw Man. And I always felt like I could follow the action. One of my favorite fights in that, I guess spoiler alert, was when what's his name, Denki, was fighting the bomb lady. I thought that was
the Bomb Devil arc was one of my favorites too. It was
I'm about to reread that.
It's so good.
I don't know. I don't like getting physical books, but I'm like, man, I might start again, because those covers are amazing.
They are gorgeous.
I low-key wish that the anime, whenever like in JoJo, whenever they start fighting, the colors change. I wish that Chainsaw Man anime was like that, even though it doesn't look like it will be. Like the colors change to the color of the covers whenever they get into fights.
Right. Like I feel like my biggest problem with the anime PV that we got, like the preview, is that it looks so drab. Like, and I get that like Chainsaw Man is kind of like a drab, kind of depressing manga, but like the covers are so colorful. It's like you can't put a little bit of that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, because the the author went out of their way to make the covers colorful. Like I feel like obviously that's to draw people's eye, it's the point of the cover, but I feel like a little bit of that should be incorporated into the show. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the opening. I feel like the OP animation has to have that color from the covers of the manga. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be upset. And I also hope the OP is banging. But OPs lately have been pretty good. Like
Yeah.
and EDs, man. Jujutsu Kaisen has one of the greatest ending songs ever. Both the first one and the second one are really good, but the first one is like it will go down in legend as one of the greatest of all time.
Personally, I really like Jujutsu Kaisen's opening, like the first one, because the dude that did it does a lot of other music too, and I like his other music. So like when I heard that he was doing an opening for an anime, I was like, what? And then I listened to it and I was like, what? You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah. Actually last night I was listening to the Bleach OST just randomly. I forget why it popped in my head. And yeah, music from Bleach is great, the OST specifically. A while ago I was in a Twitter space where they were talking about Naruto openings versus Bleach openings. Um, I would say like because there are way less Bleach openings than there are Naruto openings. Um, I would say like if you were to go percentage wise, like how often are the openings bangers? Bleach wins because there's less of them, and most of them are pretty much all of them are pretty good. But in my personal opinion, the best like if you went the best Bleach openings was the best Naruto openings, Naruto wins by a landslide for me. I just think I have so much more nostalgia for Naruto openings even though Bleach is my favorite anime, I read more of the manga. I also read more of the Naruto manga, but that first part of Naruto, which I did watch all of, had some banger openings. Even the filler arcs in Naruto have great openings. So I had got up into space. And I had this was on my mind for a long time after the fact. I felt bad because I have a habit of kind of bad mouthing Bleach despite the fact that I love it because I'm used to having to try and defend the fact that I like it so much because people it's such a hated on serious. So I always felt the need to have to try and defend myself. Like, okay, I know, and tell you and try to explain away like the stuff that people don't like, and like just get that away off the bat, and then talk about what I like about it. And it made me look like it made me look like the biggest Bleach hater in the world when I got up there, and I was defending Naruto openings because I felt like they were better. But then I also started talking trash about Bleach, and I was just like, now I look horrible. People think I hate Bleach now. And I don't want that to be my brand because I love Bleach. Anyway.
Yeah, it's fun. Like sometimes I'll badmouth my faves because like I'm a Sword Art Online liker, so it's like my taste in anime and manga is questionable at best. So like it's as long as you like find a balance between like bad mouthing it for good reason and just bad mouthing it to bad mouth it, I think you should be okay.
Yeah, like for a long time, I got stuck in that negative cycle of talking down to Bleach. I didn't do this for any other series. I talk about the stuff I don't like about Star Wars, but I also talk about the stuff that I love about it just as much, if not more. And it's the same way with tons of other stuff that I love that can be kind of just divisive. But with Bleach specifically, it's just when you like something that gets hated on so much, you tend to fall into that negativity sometimes and start talking about the bad stuff first. And it's like sometimes you got to start with the good and then be like, okay, but this stuff isn't the best, but it's still great. But yeah, I've been getting out of that kind of mindset. But moving on, I read the first volume of Warren Ellis and Declan Shalavy's Moon Knight from 2014, and it was really good. It's a good intro to the character for anyone wanting to hop into the comics after seeing the show, or you just heard about the show and you might want to check out the character in the comics. It's kind of structured like an anthology series with every chapter being an isolated adventure that Moon Knight goes on. And the art by Declan, he really takes advantage of the white borders outside of the panels and the fact that Moon Knight's suit is mostly white. and having the cape kind of like disappear into the white borders. It's really cool. I also read recently Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, as well as David Mack and Joe Quesada's Daredevil from 98 to 2011, called Parts of a Whole. It's where they introduced Echo, who has recently appeared in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. Echo is a deaf Native American woman with photographic reflexes, which essentially means that she's able to watch another person's physical movements and duplicate them without any practice. The same powers that Taskmaster has. And her story in both the comics and the Hawkeye TV show is that she's tricked into believing that the titular character killed her father by a villain who I can't name because it's a spoiler for Hawkeye, but not the spoiler for the Daredevil comic. But Chip Zdarsky's run from 2019 to 2021 is amazing. The first comic I ever read was actually a Daredevil comic, a really old Daredevil comic that my father had. And I'm so mad that it just disappeared. I don't know where it is. It was old and it was beat up and the pages were yellow, but it was special to me. Daredevil holds a special place in my heart because of that. And in this comic, essentially, Daredevil was coming back to crime fighting after a horrible injury. And he essentially makes a mistake and kills a person. He like knocks them over and they like hit their head. And then he later finds out that they're dead. And he's kind of just struggling with that and whether he should turn himself in and pay for his crimes or not. And it's a really good read. It's a great comic. I've read action comics, Superman action comics by Grant Morrison. A lot of people say that for anybody who thinks Superman is boring, this is one of the comics to read, not the comic, but one of. And it's good. I'm enjoying it. But if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel like anything special. I used to think Superman was boring a long time ago. I grew out of that, and I grew to love and respect Superman as a character. But this doesn't feel like the comic that people should necessarily. Maybe this is just my opinion. Maybe somebody else would read it and think it's great, but it doesn't feel so spectacular and such a defining story for Superman that would change people's mind about him being boring, in my personal opinion. It's about Superman's early days in Metropolis as a reporter and superhero. It's cool. TV and film. I mentioned that Aqualad was getting a live action series, which is dope. They're specifically going to be focused on a version, Jackson Hyde from the comics. People who don't know, he was created for Young Justice, but they actually had him debut a month earlier in the comics. Yeah, I'm interested in this series. I like Aqualad as a character. I'm curious if it'll be tied in with the DC. What is it? The EU, DC Extended Universe, the movie universe. I hope it is because I want Aqualad to appear in an Aquaman movie. Aquaman is it is my favorite movie within that universe. 100%. I really like that movie. There's also been talks of a Nova series for Marvel. Not a series, but a movie, I believe. But actually, it isn't specified. It's just a project about Richard Rider Nova with the Moon Knight writer, Sabir Pirzada at the helm. And Moon Knight's been good so far. So I have a feeling that Pirzada would do a good job with Nova. Have you seen the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder?
I haven't seen the trailer, but I have seen like the weird comic dude bros talk about it. They're like, "Oh, what?" They're very upset. I've seen that.
I need you to watch it right now.
All right, bet. So I'm not caught up in the MCU by any means. I have seen Captain Marvel. That is it. That's the only.
Is that really the only one?
Yeah, that and like the X-Men movies, because I I don't know. It's just that I've like my uncle like is really big on the Marvel comic books and stuff, and of course, like some of that has been transferred to me via osmosis. But like I don't know, the MCU is just, there's so much that I get overwhelmed every time I like try to think about getting into it. Yeah, I in watching the trailer for this, I want to go see this in theaters whenever it is ready.
I definitely say just watch whichever movie has characters that interest you. Like I don't really think you need too much like information surrounding. Like I don't think other than like Endgame, Infinity War, I don't think, and maybe Civil War, like the movies with the big team ups. Of course, you might need a bit of information. But otherwise, if it's not a movie with a big team up, then you can just jump into it. Like most of the solo films, you can just jump into any one of them randomly and just watch them if the character interests you. Like, if you like that trailer, watch Thor Ragnarok. It's by the same writer. It's also Thor, and it's great, and it's why I'm so excited for this movie, because Thor Ragnarok is my second favorite MCU film, just after Captain America: Winter Soldier. And if you see that trailer and it interests you, like if you get somebody, if you don't have Disney Plus, get somebody who has its account and watch Thor Ragnarok. You'll probably love that movie if you like that trailer.
Bet. It's like, because I see all the memes in air quotes about it, like the watch order and stuff, and I would look at it and it's like, that's really overwhelming. Why is there a watch order? But hearing it, or it's like you can just watch it and that's it. There's no actual real order. I'll probably start with Ragnarok because I have been looking at it to watch recently.
Yeah, other than Infinity War, Endgame, and Civil War, you don't really need to watch there's no order you need to go in. You can just watch what you like and what interests you. You could even watch the first Avengers movie by itself without having seen the movies that came before it, because the only movies that came out before that was the first Captain America movie, the first Thor, and the first Iron Man. Now, if you've never seen the first Iron Man, that is just one of the best Marvel movies ever in general. That movie holds up really well. It came out in 2009 or 8.
Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that.
Okay, good. That movie's good. At least you've seen the first one.
Yeah, it was really good. Usually, when I was younger, my mom would take me to see movies like that, and I would fall asleep. Because I don't know, I was a weird kid. Action movies would put me to sleep every time. I fell asleep in the theaters at The Incredible Hulk, the first Incredible Hulk movie that came out. Iron Man, Avatar, even not the crappy The Last Airbender movie, but
that movie's Avatar's long and there's some slow moments. I could understand for that movie. That movie's really long.
Yeah, but it was good. What I can remember from it,
I still like it. I rewatched it recently. I still like that movie, but that just changes the fact that it's long as hell. And that they're making 4 more for some weird reason. And I hope all of them aren't 3 hours long.
Knowing James Cameron, they're going to be.
But yeah, this from what it looks like, it's taking a lot of inspiration from 2 specific Thor comics. The Mighty Thor by Jason Aaron, and what is it? Thor God of Thunder. I forget who wrote that comic, but yeah, I've read the first 2 volumes or 3 volumes of Mighty Thor in their entirety. I've read the first 2 in their entirety, and I'm in the middle of the 3rd one. Mighty Thor is really good. Back when it was first announced, this Thor movie, it immediately became my most anticipated because I like Thor Ragnarok so much, and I've always been interested in Jane Foster as Thor. So Mighty Thor is the comic where she is Thor, and I started reading that, and it was really good. And then I'm finishing up, and I'm also about to start reading Thor God of Thunder, because I just want to read more Thor comics. I'm excited for some Thor, and yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. It's colorful, it's bright, and comic book movies need to just be more colorful. I feel like Zack Snyder and as good as Infinity War Endgame is, the what's their name, the Russo brothers, their color grading is really dull and gray, and I'm like, these are superheroes. They wear bright colored costumes, brighten it up. And in this trailer, they show Thor wearing several different costumes. One of them, the chest plate is it has a bunch of gold and blue, and it just looks really colorful and cool, and it was ripped straight out of a comic. And they showed images of it a long time ago, where in the trailer he didn't have sleeves, but he had gold sleeves and a helmet. I thought it looked really tacky and ugly. It's growing on me, but also it might just be that the concept art that they showed in the posters and the action figures that they showed with that costume might not be a good representation of how that costume looks in live action, and it might just look way better. It already looks better without the sleeves and the helmet, but it might look better with the sleeves and the helmet in live action than it does in the images that we've just been seeing leaked online. So yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. The Eternals also contributed to my hype because they made me more excited for the future of the cosmic side of the MCU. I'm really interested in the space part of all of it, because I feel like the MCU has a really good power scaling. Like you have, the street level characters like Spider-Man and Luke Cage and Daredevil and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and all of them. And then you have Iron Man, who's like a step above that, and Captain America and all of them. And then you get into space and you got Captain Marvel, who's like Goku, and Thor, who's also like Goku, like characters that are like far beyond like just protecting one planet. Like they're strong enough to protect the galaxy. And there are more and more characters like that are being introduced. Like there was a character in Eternals called Icarus, who is essentially, honestly, like Superman. He has laser vision, he has super strength, he can fly. And introducing these characters, Nova, like I mentioned earlier, is also going to be one of those characters. He's also a super powerful, like spacefaring character. And I'm just interested in the cosmic side of Marvel Universe. Yeah, you should definitely, slowly get into it. Take your time. There's no rush. There's a bunch of movies. Just watch what you want when you want. It'll be fine.
Gotcha. Also, I really like the set design based like for the trailer for Love and Thunder, like that. I don't know if it's like CGI or what, but it is gorgeous. Like that.
And I'm so glad you noticed it, because I don't know if you've seen the Star Wars The Mandalorian show.
I've seen a little bit of it.
But there's this technology that was invented and was the first kind of iterations of it were used on the live action Jungle Book movie that was directed by Jon Favreau. And I think he also used it on the live action Lion King. I haven't seen it. I heard it was bad. Doesn't matter. But and it's essentially giant LED screens with backgrounds made in I think Unreal Engine. And it's a giant LED screen, and it's put on the screen and it's in the background, so that you get the lighting, like realistic lighting from the setting, from the LED screen, while also getting that background. And you film it at a certain angle and it looks like they're really in that space, instead of using a green screen and putting the green screen on top of it. You already have the background there. And for The Mandalorian, they evolved it to the point of where now it's a giant circular room with obviously an opening so people can step in, with a set, like a practical set built in the middle of it, but around it or on the screens are the background made in Unreal Engine, and they can move it around and adjust it so that you have the realistic lighting from the LED screens as well as the background itself, so that they record it on there. And for Thor: Love and Thunder, they're using an even bigger version of that for this film, or they used it for this film because they were done filming at this point. So I'm glad you noticed that, so that I could bring that up and talk about this cool new technology called the volume, that was based off of a idea, not based off an idea, but it just coincidentally reminds people of an idea that George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, had about people being able to make films from their garage in terms of like settings, as technology evolves, and in terms of making like backgrounds, and like instead of going out to a desert to film something, you can easily make it, in your garage. And that's kind of what the volume is, several times bigger than a garage, but it's essentially that. And coincidentally, it got famous for being used on a Star Wars show. So yeah, the volume is cool. It was also used in The Batman, which recently came out on HBO Max. So if you couldn't see it in theaters, anybody watching, or you Aiara, it's on HBO Max now. And I'm actually going to rewatch it later with Blind Wave, the reaction YouTube channel again. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was so glad when you said that. I was like, because I forgot.
Yeah, it's like I've always loved movies with like really, really good set design, because like I notice nowadays there are a lot of movies where it's like very hit or miss, like because everyone's relying on CGI so much. I'm glad to see like a refresh of the tech used to make these like backgrounds and settings and stuff. Like that sounds extremely cool, way cooler than CGI.
A lot of the use of CGI and mixed with practical sets that just work really well together, and so that you don't look at it and just know it's CGI. You can look at it and you can't tell, even if it is CGI. And I hope more and more, especially MCU movies, since they lean so heavily on CGI, because they're about superheroes. There's no way you can make a superhero movie without CGI. So yeah, I just can't wait to see more movies use this. A lot of people also was like talking trash about, people were claiming that like people, somebody posted something and said, look at the beautiful cinematography, and we're showing different shots from the trailer. And somebody said, this isn't cinematography, this is computer generated imagery, this is CGI. And I'm just like, that's not how cinematography works. Cinematography is literally just the art of filming a movie with a camera. It is not about whether you do it practically or digitally. That difference doesn't matter. That's like, it's like when some people say a digital painting isn't a real painting. That's essentially what the equivalent of saying that digital cinematography isn't actual cinematography is, and it's a ridiculous sentiment. But also, let's touch on what you mentioned at the beginning, people getting upset, talking about some MCU, Thor, or whatever. And it's like, bruh, like somebody said something about, man, are there any like straight male characters in comics anymore? And I'm like, yes, majority of them. What are you talking about? It's crazy like how these people will make up a narrative in their mind that their content is being overrun by a bunch of queer and people that aren't white, when the reality is that it's still overwhelmingly white and straight everywhere. It's just that it's just that the stuff that gets popular online is the stuff that isn't straight, because the straight stuff is boring because it's what we see all the time and we have a lot of it. So we find the what's that saying about like the diamond in the rough? We find it, like, and we talk about it a lot because it's so few and far in between. But go ahead.
Yeah, like it's like those same people that are like, oh, comic books weren't like this when I was. Yes, they were. It's those same.
Yes, they were. Like people trying to claim that Captain America and Superman were never political when they have been. They were literally created
to be political figures. Like, it's those same dudes that have never read any of the comics in their life, but when you challenge them on it, they're like, I'm a Marvel fan. Like it's the fact that they're loud and they're wrong. They're a loud, wrong majority, and it's so sad to see, because it's like, why does my enjoyment of like seeing myself in a comic or like a movie affect you so badly? Like, why do you care so much?
But like, Superman and Captain America were literally created because of World War II. Like, modern superhero comics spawned from World War II propaganda and just something that was made to also entertain kids during the trying times, you know?
I mean, the man's name is Captain America. How can he not be a political statement? Like,
it's ridiculous. People are ridiculous. But let's move on. Let's talk about Halo. I'm actually this time go a little bit more into detail about how I feel about it. Overall, the show is a strong, confident. It exists. It's nothing special. It doesn't feel like Halo. I'm going to start off by talking about the CGI. The CGI can be a bit shaky at times, but I have to remind myself, and I feel this way about a lot of people online who talk crap about CG, is that we're spoiled. We see so much good CGI that when we see something that is quote unquote bad, people get upset, when in reality, not only did it take a lot of hard work and effort and money to make that, but it actually looks really good. You're just spoiled. And the CGI in Halo is good for the fact that this is a TV show, not a movie. It's a TV show. This is a TV show with a big budget, but this isn't. But I don't think the budget's as big as a Marvel TV show. So like it's actually really good for what it's what it is. And but beyond the CGI, I'm not a fan of them showing Master Chief's face so damn much, or this early in the series. Like, there's literally a meme about him. There was a scene where he gets off a ship. He had his helmet off. He puts his helmet on. He drives. So like this scene lasts for like a couple seconds. Then he gets out the car and he immediately takes his helmet back off. It is so funny. Like, he might as well not have a helmet because he never has it on. You know what there also isn't in this show based off of a first-person shooter? There hasn't been any action since the first episode, Aiara. I believe we're 4 episodes in. Nobody has shot a bullet since the first episode, Aiara.
Not even one? Like,
Not
no.
one. Actually, I'll take that back. like a villain shot some people that were tied up to like prove a point.
That doesn't count.
But there was like ooh, you know what? I take it back. I'm just remembering there was a firefight at the end of the last episode. But it was, guess what it didn't involve? Technically, it didn't involve any Spartans. One of the people was like a former Spartan that ran away from the program, but he's no longer a Spartan. He doesn't count. He literally only has his chest plate. He doesn't have his full armor, and he's shorter than the other Spartans because he stopped, being in the program and stopped taking the stuff that makes them grow big. So he doesn't count. It was literally just them running away. So like and it also, the reason that doesn't count is because it's a storyline that if you were to watch the show would go, why should I care? They introduced a character named Quan, who was at the beginning of the first episode, her town was attacked by the Covenant. A bunch of elites came in, murdered everybody. Well, murdered most of everybody. Then the Spartans came down, saved them, but everybody still died except Quan. And Chief was ordered to kill Quan because Quan essentially threatened to tell the world that it was actually the Spartans that killed everybody if they didn't give Quan essentially like her planet like freedom, because she wants to be free from the government that the Spartans were part of, that are trying to protect the world, but they're going about it in a very forceful way. And I thought it was going to be like The Mandalorian. Like I know you say you haven't watched a lot of it, but you know the story. It's about the Mandalorian taking care of little baby Yoda, right? Not that there's a lot of stories like this, like The Last of Us, where like it's like a big frizzled guy. He gets the kid and he starts to get soft and emotional and stuff like that. He starts to learn new things. That's what I thought the story. That's what I thought the story was going to be, and I was already upset that that's what the story was going to be, because I feel like that character for Master Chief, the character that has him think differently, is Cortana. Why would you need to introduce someone else other than Cortana to be that character for Chief? That's unnecessary. But eventually Quan just completely is no longer with Chief anymore. She's with a different character and she's off on her own adventures. That in the grand scheme of what the show is supposed to be about, which is the war of humans versus Covenant, it doesn't matter. It's so insignificant, and I don't care about the characters versus Chief and the other Spartans. I don't care about Quan. But they keep, every time they go to a scene with her, I'm just like, why are we here? I don't care about her, like, at all. They've not done anything to make me care. Not only that, but I'm not here for her. I'm here to see Master Chief shoot aliens, and we haven't seen Master Chief himself shoot an alien since the first episode, Aiara. This is based off a first-person shooter. Why is there no shooting?
It's bad because in seeing some of the clips from Halo, it reminds me of as much as I hate to say it, reminds me of like the most recent Power Rangers, I think, where they're like I don't remember exactly the plot of it, but it's bad when like they're not comparable, but like they look very similar like visually, so it's bad when Power Rangers has more action than you do. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I see what they're going for, but her story of like rebellion against the UNSC just isn't interesting. I do though like the idea of showing how ruthless the UNSC can be, just for the sake of winning the war. But I feel like they could have gone about it in a way different way. There was a storyline involving a Spartan named Kai, who Master Chief essentially they have these pellets and that's like in their bodies that kind of regulate their emotions, so that they could make more informed decisions in combat. And Master Chief took his out. And one of the other Spartans, Kai, she saw him do it, so she took hers out. And the storyline with her and another character who's I forget her name, I can't remember her name, but who's essentially like a scientist, and they're them kind of like building this one of the characters said, "You're like a sister to me," but it feels like it's more than that, but we'll see. And yeah, I just feel like there's another character named Halsey who like created the Spartans, and she's your classic scientist that only cares about her experiments type character. She doesn't care about anybody else but the projects that she's working on. And she treats the Spartans as weapons, but this other character, this other scientist is treating them more like humans, and I like that storyline. Like they're doing interesting things, but overall, it doesn't feel like a Halo show. It feels like a generic sci-fi show. That's it. It just feels like a generic sci-fi show, and there isn't enough action in this show based off a first-person shooter, and it makes me upset. But yeah, and it's already been like greenlit for season 2, which like I hope they ungreenlight that once they see how much people dislike this, because it's not good, and I don't know why they did this. It honestly would have been better off as a movie. I feel like, because I feel like you could have got all your action. You could have got a story of just Chief by himself with other Spartans going against the Covenant, and it would have been good. But nope, we got this. Before we go into video games, been watching Moon Knight. Moon Knight's good. It's about a man with a DID, dissociative identity disorder, named Stephen Grant, who finds out that his body has been doing some weird stuff when he isn't conscious. And I'm enjoying the show. And after reading the comics, I understand some things that people don't like about the show. Like there's one of his identities is Mr. Knight, and in the comics he's kind of like Batman. He walks into crime scenes. He has friends in the police, and he solves crimes. He goes stop crime. I mean, he analyzes crime scenes and then he goes to stop crime. And in the show he's a goofball, and I after reading what he's like in the comic, I get why people who read the comic goes, why did they do this to this really badass character and just make him a goofball? It's weird. At first I was like, I didn't care because I didn't know about him, but now I'm like, okay, I get it now. Everything that's come out of the MCU that has been either a lesser known character like Shang-Chi or takes on a different storytelling style like Eternals has been good so far. And I think it goes to show that if the MCU continues to take a risk and break out of their formula, they'll make better films. Because I feel like they've kind of been getting stuck in a loop of making the same type of movie over and over again. And the best movies to me so far have been the ones that have broken that loop. But okay, video games. So recently, WB merged with Discovery. Or more accurately, they were bought by Discovery. And because before they were owned by, I believe, AT&T, and then AT&T dropped them, and then Discovery picked them up. So DC, are now owned by, who's owned by WB, is now owned by Discovery. And WB's Discovery have said that they want to make more DC games, specifically other than Batman. Because for the last 20 years, the only DC games we have been getting are Batman games, and it sucks. I like Batman. He's my favorite superhero, but there's too much Batman. Okay, let's give Batman a break. Kill Batman. Kill Batman and don't have anybody replace him. Just have him go away, be gone for like 10 years. That would be perfectly fine with me. We have enough Batman. But naturally, these discussions led to a Superman game. Something a lot of people think is impossible to make. Like, what are your opinions on like Superman game? Like, a lot of people think that it just something can't happen. Like, I thought.
I feel like I'm like inclined to agree, because like, considering that I think the last Superman game was Superman 64 for the N64, and how badly that sucked, like I feel like it's hard to turn Superman into like something that I would want to play, like with Batman.
I'm glad you disagree. I really am, because I feel like we definitely need both sides for this, and I want to explain why it works and everybody is overthinking it. But what were you saying about Batman?
Like with the Batman Arkham Asylum games, like those work because it's like you turn the whole like crime fighting vigilante into like good gameplay mechanics. Because that's what I'm looking at it from, like a gameplay standpoint. Like a Superman game would just be you, like the way that I'm looking at it would be like flying around, and flying around and like stopping crime. But like I don't see how you could make that interesting gameplay wise. Like story, you could make a Superman story and make it real interesting. But if the gameplay doesn't lend to that, then what's the point,
Yeah, but Spider-Man is swinging around and stopping crimes, and they make that work. So why can't just replace swinging with flying and then also stopping crimes with story in between that?
I think it's because Spider-Man's more relatable, like as a hero. Like
we're not talking about story. We know Superman stories can work. Good Superman stories exist.
Right, right,
Relatability,
right.
relatability isn't the point. We're talking about the gameplay right now. Like we know a story, we know Superman's story can work.
Mhm.
Gameplay wise, I feel like it's where people are like, he's too strong. You're just gonna fly around. Flying's fun, but that'll get boring. And like, you just stop crying. Like that's boring. And here's why I disagree heavily.
Okay.
A lot of people say that Superman boring because he's OP. They say that bring up they're like, how do you create enemies that can hurt Superman and that Superman can immediately take out, and that he can't immediately take out? And the answer is simple. You just make enemies that can harm Superman and that he can't easily take out. It's not that serious. It's a video game. Nobody's gonna like. I'll take that back. People are gonna be like this. We just need to ignore them because they're stupid. People are gonna like it. It's a video game. Nobody's gonna be confused as to why the character you're playing as in this action adventure game, because it will most likely be an open world action adventure game, has a health bar. Nobody's gonna be confused why Superman has a health bar and why when you fight somebody in a robot suit, they hit you and your life goes down, and you hit them and they don't immediately die. Like people need to just what's the word? Suspend your disbelief. This is a man who can fly and shoot lasers out his eyes and freeze people with his breath. It's not like you're overthinking it.
The solution.
You're overthinking the solution. The solution is literally just to also like there's so many people think that there's no enemies that can fight Superman. I literally went through a thread yesterday because it was like I think the anniversary of either Superman or Lois Lane or both, because they probably were introduced in the same comic. And this dude just listed off 75 Superman villains. And I'm just like, this man has 75 villains that you can pick and choose from. Not only that, but he's not just completely invincible. He has weaknesses. Not like the various forms of kryptonite that exist. Red sun energy, literally just someone who with super strength can hit him hard and hurt him. Like he isn't invincible. Like the type of villains that you would just need are villains in exosuits, villains with weapons that can hurt him, like like I said, red sun energy or kryptonite, somebody with like magic, somebody or robots, which Superman fighting robots it's a classic. Superman fights robots all the time, or just metahumans, just which are essentially the mutants of DC, just people with superpowers, like random people in the universe that have superpowers but decided to become a villain, but aren't specifically like one of his bigger villains. Just random people, like a random person with firepower, or a random person like electricity is one of the biggest things that always can hurt Superman.
Right.
He has a villain named Livewire, which is a really cool villain who was introduced in Superman the Animated Series. A great cartoon. If you think Superman's boring, watch Superman the Animated Series. The cartoon's amazing. And she is electricity. Electricity harms Superman a lot. Just give somebody a gun that shoots electricity and it'll hurt Superman. I feel like people just overthink it. You literally just create enemies that can hurt him, which isn't hard to do because he has weaknesses. He isn't completely invulnerable.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you said magic, my mind was like, the solution is Superman turn-based RPG.
How dare you? Never.
That would be awful, but it's funny to think about.
Like it's just you're overthinking it. This is a comic book character. You can make him weak to whatever you want to. It's literally that simple. But after reading Action Comics, I have an idea for how like a progression system could work in a Superman game. So in that comic, he essentially starts off. It's starting from when he literally just moved to Metropolis and is like starting to use his powers to help people. So he's not very good at it, and he's also not very strong, and he can't fly at all. Like originally in the comics, he actually couldn't fly at first, and then in the Fleischer animated series, I believe, in the 40s, made him able to fly, and then they translated that to the comics. So at the beginning in this comic, he can only leap, tall buildings in a single bound, and he could run fast, and obviously had super strength, and he was invulnerable. But he wasn't as invulnerable, he wasn't as strong, he wasn't as fast, he couldn't fly at all. So I feel like a game where you start off with Superman just starting out as a hero. He just came to Metropolis, and he can run really fast. He can leap really high and far, and he can run faster than cars. but he does less damage and he takes more damage. But as you upgrade him and as you go throughout the story, he eventually moves faster, hits harder, he takes more damage, he can jump higher, then eventually he can glide, and eventually he can full on fly. And then enemies would scale up with him. Naturally, when he starts off, he's just going to be like, there's not going to be supervillains in the city because they don't have any superheroes to go against. So it's just regular criminals doing regular criminal stuff. And that's what you're taking out at first because, that's what he can handle. But as he gets stronger, the enemies get stronger because the criminals are going to want to be able to defend themselves against this man with super strength. And, things just start to scale up, as well as the fact that the government and Lex Luthor are going to eventually get involved and be like, why is this god just running around our city beating people up? So like Superman game works. It works very well. Like I feel like Spider-Man literally proves the point of it working. You just replace swinging with flying. And there you go. You got it. And you just make the enemies instead of just regular criminals, also robots, also metahumans, also people with weapons that can harm him, people who use magic. Like he isn't invulnerable. There are ways to make enemies that can hurt him. Like that's how I feel about the situation. And I think, and I don't want to say this about you specifically because you are a very creative person, but most people who say this just lack creativity. Either creativity or knowledge about the character. That's usually what it is. It's either a lack of knowledge of the character or a lack of creativity. And I feel like mostly online, it's a lot of people who just lack creativity.
Yeah, for me, it's the latter. I don't really. I'm like I said, I'm not well versed in comics, so I didn't know all of these things about Superman. Like I knew that he flew and all those good stuff, but like everything beyond like surface level knowledge, this is all news to me. So now I'm like under the opinion, yeah, this could work. When you explain it like that, it's like, yeah, this could work. Absolutely.
Like that's literally all people's biggest problem is like, how do you have him be able to not just beat people up immediately, and how do you have people who can even do damage to him? And it was like, it's literally a simple solution. He has weaknesses, exploit those. End of sentence. But yeah, that's all I got for that Superman section. But next up, Kingdom Hearts 4. Have you seen that?
Oh boy, do I have a lot of thoughts about Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah. So Kingdom Hearts in general, right, is confusing in terms of story, but people really have nostalgia for that game. They love the combat. I've never played it personally. It looks interesting, but it doesn't look like my type of game. But me and Amir talked about how if there was a Kingdom Hearts 4, because the third game was kind of like the end of a story arc, if Kingdom Hearts 4 was like a game where if you've never played a Kingdom Hearts game before, you can just jump in because they're starting a new arc of a story and they streamline the story and make it less confusing, I feel like I would play it. And two other things I thought that they should add that would make me play it 100% are Marvel and Star Wars worlds within the game, since Disney owns those, worlds and characters. And in the trailer, there was, and it's hard to deny if it was or was not, because it looks just like it, an ATST foot in like the top left corner of a scene that was in a forest that looks just like the Forest Moon Endor from Revenge of the Sith. No, Return of the Jedi. And a lot of people were screenshotting it and showing it and like comparing it to like an ATST foot. And I was just like, oh my God, that's just straight up an ATST from Star Wars. They're going to have Star Wars in there. They are going to have Star Wars in Kingdom Hearts 4, and that makes me want to play it. They're going to pull in a lot of players just by having a Star Wars world in that game. And he's going to have a lightsaber keyblade, and it's going to be glorious. And he's going to have Luke Skywalker helping him out. Oh, I'm interested in this game, but we're like, what are your opinions on Kingdom Hearts 4?
So I, as a person who does have a lot of nostalgia for Kingdom Hearts, like I grew up as the series was coming out. I remember playing the first Kingdom Hearts a very, very long time ago. I'm not excited. When I was younger, I loved Kingdom Hearts. It's like, wow, it's Disney, but they're fighting and it's cool. But like in getting older and playing the more recent games, I hate the combat. Like I cannot stand Kingdom Hearts' like combat system. It tries to be a hack and slash game without the things that make hack and slash games fun. Like I abhor Kingdom Hearts' combat, but like part of me is like not excited because the confusing storyline and like the way that the game plays, but another part of me is a little excited because again, nostalgia, and then also the fact that like I like the graphics update. I didn't the first time I saw the trailer, I didn't really like it. I was like, this looks ugly, but in watching it again, I do like how they're like refreshed the way the series looks without like changing it too heavily. But then I'm also a little concerned that it looks like Final Fantasy a little bit too much.
I mean, it's always, the game has always been just Final Fantasy and Disney.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just always been a Final Fantasy and Disney crossover. But
right.
Also, it's been confirmed that, much like in previous games, like the art style will change from like certain like worlds, and that the art style will still change from world to world, and that art style is just specifically for that world, and that there will probably be a more traditional Kingdom Hearts art style in a different world, as well as different art styles in different places. But also that realistic art style, they probably created that more like Final Fantasy VII Remake style art style for the sake of like, if they're going to be introducing Star Wars, which it seems like, and like maybe if they're introducing Star Wars, they might be introducing some Marvel worlds. They have like a more realistic model of Sora that they can put into those worlds and have it look and make sense without
okay, yeah.
weird.
That makes sense. Like I don't know, it's just it threw me off because it looked just like Final Fantasy VII, like the remake. And I was like, and I know I think Kingdom Hearts is done by Square Enix. And
Yeah,
am I wrong on?
Yes, maybe
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I know they're both done by Square Enix, but like, come on now, Square Enix,
like
find another art style.
I was gonna say like the director and like lead designer is like famous for making a lot of this famous stuff for Final Fantasy. But yeah, and what was I about to say? Oh, there should be more Final Fantasy stuff in Kingdom Hearts. I feel like there's not enough Final Fantasy stuff in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, definitely. Like Square Enix has so many properties, but they don't use them.
Yeah, they could also bring in other Square Enix stuff.
Right.
Is like, Dragon Quest Square Enix?
Dragon Guard, you said?
Dragon Quest. Is that Square Enix?
I'm not sure. Let me Google it.
I think it might be. It might be like, I'm thinking like Bandai or something like that.
No, Dragon Quest is Square Enix.
Okay, yeah, they could bring some, like Dragon Quest maybe. Like bring other Square Enix stuff would be cool.
Yeah, because like again, they have all these properties, but like they're not doing anything with them.
And also, not low key, but high key. Square Enix also, like Adios Montreal is a Square. They are owned by Square Enix, and they made the Avengers game. Like the Square Enix already has ties with making Marvel stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel shows up. It's all but confirmed that Star Wars is going to be in it. That was very clearly ATST foot, and I'm surprised it was in the trailer. I think they did that on purpose. Because they could have just straight up showed it, and that would also made waves. But instead, they decided to just show the foot.
Square Enix is always doing stuff like that show not tell kind of thing, especially in their trailers. It's frustrating, but at the same time, like it's a good way to garner hype around like the products that they make. So I understand why.
Yeah. So there are going to be remakes of Max Payne 1 and 2 by Remedy and Rockstar. Remedy, they made the first two Max Paynes, but also they're also known for Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control, a game that I hate. And Rockstar's Rockstar, Red Dead Redemption, GTA. But they also published Max Payne, and I recently bought Max Payne 3 on Xbox because hearing this news made me remember playing Max Payne 3. I never played the first two, so I'm excited for this remake, and I really like the third one. I've been replaying it. And essentially Max Payne is it's the main character is like this grizzled cop. It's like a one of those like cop novels, you know how those work with the grizzled cop character. And the biggest part of that game is that it's bullet time function, which has been used by tons of games since then. And you can essentially slow down time, go into bullet time, and shoot people. You can jump in the air and go into bullet time. It's cool as hell. And it's just an overall just really fun, just third person shooter type game. And I'm excited to see how they evolve the mechanics for the remake. But yeah, last but not least, The Quarry. Have you heard about the game The Quarry by Supermassive?
I have not.
It is made by the studio that made the Dark Pictures anthology and Until Dawn. And they're making a new player choice horror game called The Quarry that is taking big inspiration from 80s horror movies. And they had a 30-minute preview not too long ago that looked really good. The graphical quality of the games have shot up really high, and it looks good. But also there was some more supplementary information from other previews from like game journalists. There are going to be 186 unique endings. They changed I don't know if you ever played Until Dawn or watched somebody play it, but
I have.
quick time events in those games,
Awful.
yeah, they can be annoying because you can easily mess them up. So now they're making them a little bit easier, and if you want them to be harder, so that you can, potentially, the fun of that game is that you could make a mistake and kill your character at any point. That's kind of part of the fun of those types of games.
Right.
So you can make it hard if you want, but they also changed it instead of having to press a button, because depending on what console you're playing on or what controller you're using on PC, the buttons might be different. So you just have to flick the stick for the quick time events, which I feel like made them a little bit easier.
It does, but I feel like I don't like it. I guess it's because I'm so used to button quick time events. I feel like that it's not as novel,
Yeah. But there's also, when shooting, instead of there being like a tiny reticle, you'll have a flashlight on your weapon, and as long as it's within the giant ring that the flashlight makes, you hit them. So it's easier to, like, in Until Dawn, there's a part where if you miss a shot, the character just dies. So they make it to where like it's harder to miss shots, though it's still possible. That way you don't kill a character just by making that mistake. But also something I thought was really cool, you also have the option of turning off quick time events altogether, and also turning off shooting sections to let them automatically play, and also where they like just hit the enemies every single time. So you can completely remove those options if you find those annoying, and you only have the dialogue options. But they also have a call called movie mode that allows you to just watch the game play out, and you can choose a version where everyone dies, a version where everyone lives, or you can predetermine the behaviors of each character so that you can choose who lives and dies. And I thought that was really cool, to be able to like not even have to really play the game and just choose how it goes and just watch it happen like a movie is dope.
I definitely agree, because like I think my biggest problem with Until Dawn, besides the graphics, like when it was first like becoming popular, I was like, wow, this is so cool, because all the actors are like, I don't remember what the term they used for it, but the faces match the person who voice acted them. That was super cool. But like looking back on it, it's very uncanny. Like nowadays, it's like almost scary how they look. But I felt like my biggest complaint with Until Dawn was like the fact that it felt like more often than not, it felt like the choices didn't really matter. Like all the branching storyline.
I feel like that's one of the games where the choices matter the most, and of all of those type of games that I've seen, because it's so easy to get a character killed, and you have to help them survive.
That's what I mean. Like the fact that like it to me, and then this might just because I haven't really like even thought about Until Dawn for a long time. It felt like the quick time events mattered more with a character's death than the actual dialogue options did, and I don't know. I just never really liked it, so I was like, for all that, you might as well just let me watch the story play out and then just throw quick time events at me every so often. But listening to how they're going to do the Quarry, like I'm excited, because like, while if I do end up getting it, I probably won't play in movie mode. I still think that's a really interesting option to have.
Yeah, for people who just don't want to have to deal with that. They don't have to deal with that pressure of having to keep the characters alive. But some people that are part of the cast are David Arquette, who plays I forget the name of his character, but the cop in Scream, the brother of the main character in Scream.
Wow.
Yeah, they have Ariel Winter, who plays the kind of nerdy daughter in Modern Family. They have Justice Smith, who was in Detective Pikachu, the main character. They have Sam Raimi's brother, Ted Raimi, who I recognize him because he was in Spider-Man 2. And Brenda Song. So
really?
yeah. Actually, was it what is her name? Ashley Tisdale. She was in some of their previous games. She was in one of their Dark Pictures anthology games.
I see.
Yeah, so they have they always get themselves a star-studded cast. But yeah, it also, much like the Dark Pictures anthology, is multiplayer, and you can have different people control. I think there are 9 counselors that you can control.
Mm-hmm.
You can assign them to different people, and I think that's really cool. Like giving one person a specific character, like you got to keep that character alive, my dude. I think that's fun. I want to play this. I just want to play this with some friends when it comes out. I think it comes out.
Yeah. It sounds like it would make for a fun game night, that's for sure.
But in terms of story, because I mentioned it on the podcast before, but since I mentioned it to you for the first time, I'll just read the synopsis here on their website. It's a late summer in the remote forests of upstate New York, and the teen counselors of Hackett's Quarry have the camp to themselves for one final night. That means no kids, no adults, and no rules. In this thrilling cinematic tale, you control the fates of all 9 camp counselors as their party plans unravel into an unpredictable night of horror with life or death decisions around every turn. The choices you make will determine how the story unfolds. So yeah. What else was I going to say? I can't remember. There's a 30-minute preview that you can check out if you want to just see how the game plays and how it looks so far. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm excited. I'm really excited but this is also making me miss Telltale. Like,
yeah,
I'm so
they're coming back though. They're back. Like The Wolf Among Us season 2 is coming. I'm so excited for that, because The Wolf Among Us was my favorite of their games.
I'm just hoping that they don't bring back The Walking Dead. Like,
Walking Dead had a good ending. It's done.
Yeah, I like how it ended. It doesn't need to come back.
It had a really good ending. I feel like the first season is amazing. The last season is amazing. The second season is, and the third season it's good, but it focuses on a different character, and that made it weird. But overall, Walking Dead, it was good. Let it die.
Right. Like, I was about to say major spoilers.
Just with the happy. But what was I about to say? Yeah, I can't wait for The Wolf Among Us season 2. Have you ever seen the trailer? Like, I'm glad that they like the progression of the art style for The Walking Dead. I wasn't the biggest fan of. I feel like it did look good at the end of the season, but I feel like it was so far removed from what it originally was.
Yeah, it's like the art style was probably the most iconic thing about it. I remember when season 2 first came up, people would like do Walking Dead style makeup and stuff all the time. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole aesthetic of Telltale was meant to be like they're adapting comics to video games, so they use a comic book art style. And thank God with The Wolf Among Us 2, it's still because it's based off a comic, the Fables comic. It still has that comic art style, and it looks even better than it did before. Like, it's not an evolution like The Walking Dead where it slowly kind of got more realistic unnecessarily instead of sticking with that comic art style. They took the comic art style and made it look even better and more clean. And that's what I think they should have did with The Walking Dead. And I honestly think that they should have a universal art style, in my personal opinion. Some people might not agree with that, but I think that the art style that they're currently using for The Wolf Among Us Part 2 they should use for every single game they make going forward. Because I think that's part of what makes them so unique, is that art style. And if they stray from that and go more realistic, it's not as unique visually anymore. Like was it the Batman Telltale game is also really good. I heard that after The Walking Dead, not Walking Dead, but Wolf Among Us season 2, they might start working on the season 3 for Batman. And that art style is also in between kind of that comic and more realistic style, and I would love for them to take that in the direction of The Wolf Among Us season 2. But anyway, I said I was ending, and then I kept talking. So I want you to plug your Twitch, because I forgot to let you do that last time.
It's all good. So I'm a streamer. I'm a VTuber. Well, a PNG tuber. We're working on getting a VTubing model set up for me eventually. We'll get there at some point. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and at like 2-ish p.m. I kind of stream whatever I want, whatever game is interesting me. Right now, I haven't streamed. I was kind of taking a break from streaming for health reasons. But next week I'll be getting back into, probably actually sometime later this week, I'll be getting back into the grind with a lot of Isaac, the Binding of Isaac, because I've been playing a whole bunch of that. And that, and then maybe some World of Horror, and then of course, like I was thinking about doing some Papa's Pizzeria or something on Friday, like I always do. So yeah, come check me out. My Twitch
Check
will be
out
linked.
Death's Door. You should play.
Yeah.
That game is good.
Say it one more time.
So you should play Death's Door.
I might. I just might, because I need new games to play on stream. I was gonna play Nier Automata, but like, I have 3 different files on that game. They're all like work in progress files, and I don't want to delete any of them. So we'll see.
So I'll put your ad below. Nimosika's ad will also be on screen. My ads will be right below me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.